Hi guys, welcome back to Uniquely You. I'm your host, Unique Essence, and I'm so excited that you guys clicked this episode today. I really can't believe it, y'all. We are on our third episode. It's so crazy to me, it's so insane. I actually launched my podcast like a day or two ago, and it did really good. As you guys can see, the balloons are literally still in the back. I have to take those down. But y'all, when I was taking those balloons up, it was literally crazy. It was insane. I had so much trouble getting those things up there, so they will come down when I'm ready. But pretty much, y'all, I just went and got me a cute cake. I got me some flowers. I got the balloons. I just pretty much made the day special, and I'm so glad I did, because y'all, I feel like if you don't celebrate yourself, who will? You know what I'm saying? And I launched my podcast on my Instagram. The posts were so cute. It was just so tea, a real nice moment for me, and I'm just so glad that I really did that for myself. It was so cool. So have you guys ever poured your heart into something just to feel like nobody noticed? Because that's how I felt when I first launched my podcast a day or two ago. In the beginning, it didn't do how I wanted to do, and I really was just having doubts about myself, about actually doing this. I asked myself so many toxic questions about just everything I was pursuing and want to do, and it really messed my head up. It really made me just doubt putting this out there. And that brings me into the topic of this episode, which is creativity is measureless, and no amount of external validation will ever be enough to fuel that. It took me so long to actually learn this. I'm actually just now learning this myself. I feel like over time I've kind of gained to know that it's measureless, but it's really been in my head lately, nothing will ever equal up to your creativity, ever. So my first topic I want to talk about when it comes to all this is the pitfall of validation. When we actually rely on the validation of other people and external sources, it really puts a limit on ourselves, and it kind of just blocks us from putting out everything we want to put out. Being that I create content, it's kind of centered around, views, building up numbers. And when I first started creating content in middle school, I remember when my videos didn't go viral or didn't hit a certain amount of views or comments and likes, I just get so upset, because it's dang, should I really do this? I questioned myself so much on pursuing content, and even now there's been times where I question myself. I just did it when I launched my podcast. It still happens, but not as much. Just thinking about how I always depended on that external validation from other people, it really just locks your whole creative process in general, especially as a creator. I feel like we already have to think really hard when it comes to being unique on the internet and making your own space in general. You have to be very unique, very different, because there are a lot of people in this same field that's doing this. And so imagine putting all that work in and just doing everything you thought you did correctly, and you put it out there and nobody notices. It can really just make you feel terrible, and that's so understandable. But just make sure in those moments you remember why you started, which brings me to the next topic, the power of why. When external validation is lacking, I feel like it's so important to make sure that we focus on our why and why we want to do everything, our purpose in general when it came to whatever it is we want to pursue. I noticed that in times where I feel like I'm not really doing good or not pushing out the best version of myself, when I think about why I started, I feel like the purpose fuels me up kind of more than the external validation does. That in itself cannot be measured. No amount of external validation will ever measure up to why I actually wanted to start doing what I want to do. Just remember why you started. Sit down, reflect, think about why you actually started what you're doing. Maybe that's a business, maybe that's a YouTube channel, maybe that's just a brand, whatever it is. Remember why, because I feel like that in itself just really fuels us up, and that is the fuel, that is the source, that is why we want to put that out there. And I feel like when we actually remember that and sit down and take that all in, that really kind of motivates us more. At least for me, it definitely does. My main reason for starting my podcast and doing content is because I want to express my creativity. That's why I put out content. That's why I create things, because I want to showcase my creativity. And when I remember that, instead of remembering who didn't like my post or who didn't post my post, I feel like we can see which one would motivate me more. Be your own source of motivation. Don't let anything else take over that. It's okay to want validation or just want recognition for doing what you're doing. That's totally fine. Wanting and needing is two different things. One thing that has really helped me out personally with staying motivated is setting little small personal goals for myself. I actually have to write on that board back there a few of them, because I want to remind myself every day when I get up why it is I'm doing what I'm doing. When we set those small goals for ourselves, it's so reassuring when we actually hit those goals. We can check them things off, because it gives us a sense of just knowing, we know we're putting this out there, we know we're making progress, instead of just throwing something out there and hoping for the best. Another thing too is remembering your purpose. Why is it that you want to do what you do? When we think about our purpose in situations like that, that can be your fuel, and that can positively motivate you, because you can be motivated, but it can be negative. Before I launched my podcast trailer, I had a lot of research about creativity and what it is and just its meaning in general. And I saw this post, and it was creativity is nature manifests in us. And I was just wow, that was such a cool crazy statement, because that's so true. Everything that we intake in our life is what we push back out. It's just in different ways, and then that stuff that we push out, other people take in and push back out. It's just so crazy, the range of creativity and just how it works. I saw that that post and I was like, wow. I say that to say, when you actually think about why you started and like why did you doing what you're doing, instead of thinking about what other folks are like, you know, doing when it comes to your content, whatever it is you're putting out there, you just have a better sense of self and better sense of motivation when it's actually positive and something that like you just know serves like your purpose and like what it is you want to do. And that's why I think it's so important to always remember why you started what you started. Now, although the talk wasn't cheap, I feel like talking is easier than actually action itself. So I have a few tips written down that I want to give you guys when it comes to just like, you know, self-reflecting and kind of remembering why you started and just things that will help you stay motivated in those times where you feel like you shouldn't do what you want to do. So the first one is define your why. I encourage you to write down why you started. Like, think about why you started, write that down, remember it always. Like I said, I gotta write down my goals on that board literally, because I feel like when it's written down and you can actually see it, it just kind of reminds you way more because it's actually in your face, it's right there. Like, you can actually sit here and be like, okay, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do. And like, it just kind of plays a big reminder and just like everything you want to do. Write them goals down, y'all. The second one is celebrate small wins. Y'all, I literally did a whole podcast launch and I literally made it so much more than what it was. I literally got in here, hung balloons up, bought a cake, bought myself flowers. I made it special. I made it about me. I celebrated myself, and that just made me feel so good. And it's so important that all of us do that when it comes to this, what we want to pursue. Everybody won't look at what you're looking at, how you're looking at it, and I feel like it's so important that we ourselves celebrate ourselves when we do anything we want to do. That podcast launch was something big to me, and I made sure that I made it big. I made it special, and overall I felt good doing that. So always celebrate your small wins, regardless of how small they are. Always celebrate them. If you don't, who will? My next tip is create for the process, not for the result. Try to find joy when you're creating anything, whether that be brainstorming ideas, learning, practicing, whatever it may be for you. Find joy in that, because overall the whole process and journey in general is so much more fun and fulfilling in the end when it comes to actually reaching the goals that you want to reach. My next tip is create a positive environment, y'all. We cannot expect to grow and expand if we're steady putting ourselves in these negative environments. Cannot expect to grow and expand and just do so much good if you're stuck in a place where you can't do that. My next tip is take a social media break if needed, y'all. I feel like sometimes when we see other people like pursuing the same things that we want to pursue and we see their results and what they're getting and like whatever it is that they're doing, we see that it kind of like makes us feel like we're not doing enough or we're not doing as good when we put the same thing out and like it doesn't really do how theirs did or like how the next person did. It's so important that we remember that everybody has their own journey and your journey will never be like nobody else's. To end this episode off, y'all, remember that creativity is something that belongs uniquely to you. Creativity is measureless, it's endless, and it doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. Every idea that you bring to life is a testament to your passion and your vision. Even when no one else applauds you on what it is you're doing, remember that it still matters. Keep creating for you guys, and remember that creativity is measureless and nothing will never equal up to that. I think that kind of ends this episode off real nice, real good. I don't know, I feel like I did kind of good with this, y'all. This is the third episode, so I feel like I'm not really as nervous as I was in the first two. Still a little bit nervous, just a little bit, but not as much in the first two episodes. I feel like it was way better. Let me know how I did in this episode, y'all. Hope you guys messed with it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys real soon. Like, crazy, I can't believe I'm really doing this. But yeah, guys, see you guys soon. I love you guys. See you guys in my next episode.